My name is Clarice Holloway, and I am 74 years old. The day my own son laughed at my pain was the day something inside me finally snapped. It happened in my living room, late afternoon, sunlight still on the floor. I was sitting on the old brown couch, my back hurting so bad I could barely breathe straight. My hands were shaking. My legs felt weak. I had just come back from the clinic, still wearing the thin hospital wristband. I looked up at my son and said softly, "Son, I don't think I'm okay." He looked at me. Then he laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an unsure laugh. A real laugh. And he said, "Mom, you're always in pain. You've been dying for years. You'll be fine." That laugh cut deeper than any sickness ever could. But what he didn't know, what he could never imagine, was that by evening, I would turn that same pain into proof. Proof that would change everything. Before I continue, let me pause for just a moment. If you love deep, emotional stories about family, betrayal, strength, and truth, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss stories like this. And please tell me in the comments which country you're watching from. I want to know who is sitting with me right now, listening to this story. Now listen closely. Because what happened after my son laughed is something no mother ever forgets. And the choice I made that evening. You won't believe it. Let me take you back a little. I raised my son Marcus Holloway by myself. His father left when Marcus was still small, walked out with a bag and never looked back. From that day on, it was just me and my boy. I worked 2 jobs. Cleaned houses in the morning. Worked nights at a small diner. I skipped meals so he could eat. Wore old shoes so he could have new ones. Smiled through pain so he would never feel scared. Marcus grew up strong, confident, loud. And somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me as his mother. He started seeing me as a burden. When I got older, my body began to slow down. My back started hurting. My legs swelled. My hands sometimes went numb. Doctors said different things. Arthritis, nerve pain, normal for your age. Marcus hated hearing about it. "Don't start, Mom. You're fine. You just like attention." Those words hurt more than the pain itself. Still, I stayed quiet. Because that's what mothers do, right? The day everything changed started like any other. I woke up before sunrise with sharp pain running down my spine. It felt like fire under my skin. I sat on the edge of the bed, breathing slowly, trying not to cry. Marcus was still asleep. I made my way to the kitchen, holding onto walls. I took my pills, drank water, waited for the pain to ease. It didn't. By mid-morning, I knew something was wrong. My chest felt tight, my vision blurred, my left hand went weak. I called Marcus. "Son," I said, my voice shaking, "can you take me to the clinic?" He sighed loudly. "Mom, I just got off work." "I know," I said, "but I really don't feel." "You always don't feel good," he snapped. There was a pause. Then he said, "Fine, hurry up." At the clinic, the nurse frowned when she saw me. They checked my pressure. It was high, too high. They asked questions, took notes, wrapped a band on my wrist. Marcus sat in the chair, scrolling on his phone. The doctor said, "You should rest. Something is not right. If symptoms get worse, go to the hospital immediately." Marcus rolled his eyes. On the way home, he didn't say a word. That's when we reached the living room. That's when I sat down. That's when I told him I wasn't okay. And that's when he laughed. "Mom, you're dramatic," he said. "You're not dying." I felt my heart break quietly inside my chest. I stood up slowly. "I need to lie down," I said. He shrugged. "Whatever." I walked to my room and closed the door. That was the first time in my life I realized something painful. My son no longer believed me. And worse, he didn't care. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. The pain grew worse. My head throbbed. My chest felt heavy. My left arm tingled like ants were crawling inside it. I thought about all the years I protected him, all the times I believed him, all the times I chose his comfort over my own truth. Tears ran down the sides of my face and into my ears. I whispered to myself, "Clarice, you need to stop lying for him." Then something happened. My phone buzzed. A message. From the clinic. "Please return immediately if symptoms worsen." I stared at the screen. My heart pounded. I looked at the door. I knew if I told Marcus again, he would laugh again. And something inside me said, "This time, don't explain. This time, don't beg." I slowly sat up. That's when I made a decision. A quiet one. A dangerous one. I picked up my phone and called for help without telling my son. The sun was setting when everything started moving fast. Sirens. Voices. Lights flashing through the window. Marcus burst into my room, eyes wide. "What's going on?" he asked. I didn't answer. The paramedics lifted me carefully, asked questions, took my blood pressure again. One of them looked at Marcus and said, "She's very lucky she called." Marcus frowned. "Lucky," he said. "She's fine." The paramedic looked at him slowly. "No," he said, "she's not." As they rolled me out of the house, I looked at my son. He looked confused. Annoyed. Still not worried. That hurt more than the pain. Inside the ambulance, the pain became sharp and frightening. I heard someone say, "We might be dealing with something serious." My eyes filled with tears. Not because I was scared of dying, but because I realized something heartbreaking. If I had listened to my son, if I had stayed quiet, I might not have made it through the night. At the hospital, everything moved fast. Tests, scans, needles, machines beeping. A doctor leaned over me and said words I will never forget. "You came just in time." I closed my eyes. The pain was real. The danger was real. And suddenly, so was the truth. That evening, while I lay in a hospital bed with wires on my chest and doctors moving around me, my phone buzzed again. A message from Marcus. "You okay now?" No apology. No fear. No concern. Just that. I stared at the message. And in that moment, I made a second decision. This one was not about survival. This one was about proof. Proof that my pain was never a joke. Proof that my silence had protected the wrong person. Proof that the truth would no longer stay hidden. As the nurse handed me a folder with test results and reports, I held it tightly. Because by morning, my son would see something he never expected. And what happened after that evening will shock you. I woke up in the hospital to the sound of beeping. Slow, steady, cold. For a moment, I didn't know where I was. The ceiling above me was white, too white. The air smelled like cleaning liquid and something sharp. My body felt heavy, like it didn't fully belong to me. Then the pain reminded me. My chest was tight. My left arm felt weak. There was a dull ache behind my eyes that wouldn't go away. I tried to move, and a soft voice said, "Ma'am, please don't try to get up yet." I turned my head slowly. A nurse stood beside my bed. Young, kind eyes, her name tag read Alina. "You had a rough night," she said gently, "but you're stable now." I swallowed. What happened to me?" I asked. She hesitated, then said, "The doctor will explain everything soon, but you did the right thing by calling for help when you did." Those words stayed with me. You did the right thing. No one had said that to me in a long time. A little while later, the doctor came in. A middle-aged black woman with calm hands and a serious face. She pulled a chair close to my bed and sat down. "Mrs. Holloway," she said, "I want to be very clear with you." I nodded slowly. "You had a minor stroke," she continued. If you had waited longer, the damage could have been much worse. The room felt like it tilted. A stroke. I had heard the word before, on TV, in whispers. But hearing it connected to my own body felt unreal. She kept speaking. Your symptoms were serious. The weakness, the chest pressure, the blurred vision, those were warnings. I thought of Marcus laughing. You're always in pain. I closed my eyes. If you had stayed home, the doctor said, you might not be speaking to me right now. My heart beat faster. Will I be okay? I asked. With care and rest, she said. Yes, but you need to take this seriously. I nodded again. I will, I whispered. She looked at me closely. Do you live alone? She asked. I hesitated. No, I said. My son lives with me. Her eyes softened, but something in her expression stayed careful. Make sure you have support, she said. Real support. She stood up and placed a folder on the table beside my bed. Your test results, she said. We'll go through them later. When she left, I stared at that folder. Proof. Later that morning, Marcus came. I heard his voice before I saw him. Yeah, she's fine now, he said into his phone. I told you she was being dramatic. My stomach tightened. He walked into the room, phone still in hand, not even looking at me. He sat in the chair and crossed his arms. So, he said, finally looking up, you good now? I didn't answer right away. The nurse was still there, adjusting my IV. She glanced at Marcus, then at me. Mrs. Holloway had a stroke, she said clearly. Marcus laughed. A stroke, he said. Come on, she's talking just fine. The nurse's face hardened. She's lucky, she said. Very lucky. Marcus shrugged. See, I told you she'd be fine. The nurse finished her work and left the room. The door closed. Silence filled the space between us. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. He looked tired, annoyed, uncomfortable. But not scared. Not sorry. I took a slow breath. Marcus, I said softly, the doctor said I could have died. He rolled his eyes. Mom, doctors always say stuff like that. That was the moment. The moment I realized something I had been avoiding for years. My son did not just mock my pain. He did not believe it existed. I turned my head away from him and looked at the window. The sky outside was pale blue. Marcus, I said, still calm, do you remember when you were 8 years old and broke your arm? He frowned. What does that have to do with anything? You cried all night, I said. You said it hurt too much to sleep. So, he snapped. So I sat up with you until morning, I said. I held your arm and told you it was real, that your pain mattered. He said nothing. I never laughed at you, I continued. I never told you to stop pretending. I turned back to face him. And yet, I said, my voice shaking just a little, you laughed at me. He shifted in his chair. You're twisting things, he said. I just meant. You meant what you said, I replied. Silence again. He stood up. I've got stuff to do, he said. Let me know when they discharge you. And with that, he walked out. No hug. No apology. No guilt. Just the sound of the door closing behind him. I lay there staring at the ceiling, tears sliding quietly into my hair. For the first time, I didn't wipe them away. A nurse came in later and saw my face. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yes, I said. I think I finally am. That afternoon, Alina returned with a clipboard. You're going to need rest, she said, and someone to help you at home. I smiled faintly. I'll manage, I said. She paused. You shouldn't be alone, she said gently. I looked at her. I won't be, I replied. Not anymore. When visiting hours ended, the room grew quiet again. The lights dimmed. I reached for the folder beside my bed. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were test results, charts, notes, clear words printed in black ink. Ischemic stroke, high risk, immediate intervention required. I stared at the page. This was not something that could be laughed away. This was not something that could be called drama. This was my body screaming for help. And it had almost been ignored. I thought about Marcus, laugh. About how small I felt in that moment. About how many times I had swallowed pain just to keep peace. Something inside me hardened. Not into anger. Into clarity. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every beep of the machine reminded me I was still alive. I picked up my phone and scrolled through old photos. Marcus as a baby. Marcus in school. Marcus smiling beside me. At some point, that smile stopped meaning love. I whispered into the quiet room. I failed you. Then I shook my head. No, I corrected myself. I failed me. The next morning, the doctor came back. You'll be discharged tomorrow, she said, but you need to make changes. I will, I said. She looked at me carefully. Do you feel safe at home? She asked. I hesitated. Then I answered honestly. I don't feel seen, I said. She nodded slowly. That matters, she said. Before she left, she added, if you need help, ask. Don't suffer in silence. Those words followed me long after she left. That afternoon, Marcus sent a message. I'll pick you up tomorrow. I stared at the screen. Then I typed back. No. A few seconds passed. Then my phone buzzed. What do you mean no? I did not reply. I placed the phone down. Because something had changed. For the first time, I wasn't trying to explain my pain. I was preparing to show it. That evening, Alina came by again. She noticed the folder in my hands. You reading your reports? She asked. Yes, I said. She smiled gently. Good, she said. People should understand what's happening to their bodies. I looked up at her. My son doesn't believe me, I said quietly. She paused. Then he doesn't deserve your silence, she replied. Those words hit deep. When she left, I picked up my phone again. I took pictures. Clear ones. Of the reports. Of the notes. Of the doctor's diagnosis. Then I saved them. Proof. As night fell, I sat alone in the dim room. I felt tired. But not weak. I whispered to myself. You laughed at my pain. I closed my eyes. And tomorrow, I added softly, you will see it. Because I had made a plan. Not to yell. Not to fight. Not to beg. Just to tell the truth. With proof in my hands. And when my son finally saw it, nothing between us would ever be the same again. The next day felt heavy before it even began. I woke up early in the hospital, long before the nurses changed shifts. My body felt sore, like I had been in a quiet fight all night. My left arm still felt weak, and my head throbbed softly, like a warning tapping from inside. But my mind was clear. Clear in a way it had not been for years. Today, I was going home. And today, my son would finally see what he laughed at. The doctor came in just after sunrise. She checked my eyes, asked me to squeeze her fingers, made me lift my arm. Good, she said. You're stable, but remember what I told you. I remember, I said. She looked at me carefully. You will need rest, no stress, no arguments. I almost smiled. No stress, I repeated quietly. If only she knew. By mid-morning, the nurse handed me my discharge papers. She went over everything slowly. Medications, follow-up visits, warning signs. She paused at the end. Do you have someone picking you up? She asked. Yes, I said, my son. She nodded, but her eyes searched my face. Take care of yourself, she added softly. I will, I said, and this time I meant it. Marcus arrived late. Of course he did. I heard his voice in the hallway before I saw him. "I'm here for Clarice Holloway," he said. "Yeah, my mom." He walked in a moment later, wearing the same jacket he always wore, keys dangling in his hand like he was in a hurry. "Ready?" he asked. No hug. No, how are you feeling? Just ready. I nodded and slowly stood up. As I gathered my things, he glanced at the folder tucked under my arm. "What's that?" he asked. "Paperwork," I replied. He shrugged. "Let's go then." The ride home was quiet. Too quiet. Marcus drove with one hand on the wheel, tapping his fingers like he was annoyed by the traffic, by the red lights, by the day itself. I stared out the window. Every bump in the road sent a small shock through my body, reminding me how close I had come to not being here. Halfway home, Marcus spoke. "So," he said, "you feeling better now?" I took a breath. "I'm alive," I said. He laughed lightly. "See, I told you." I said nothing. When we pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same as always. Small, quiet, familiar. But something about it felt different. Like it knew something was about to change. Marcus grabbed my bag and walked ahead of me. I followed slowly, one step at a time. Inside, he dropped the bag near the door. "You should lie down," he said. "I've got stuff to do." I nodded. "Marcus," I said. He stopped. "What?" he replied, already turning away. "I need to talk to you," I said calmly. He sighed loudly. "Mom, can it wait? I'm tired." "No," I said, "it can't." Something in my voice made him turn back. He looked at me. Really looked this time. "What?" he asked again, sharper now. I walked to the dining table and placed the folder down. "I need you to sit," I said. He stared at the folder. Then at me. Then he laughed. "You're serious," he said. "This is about the hospital again." "Yes," I said. He pulled out a chair and dropped into it. "Okay," he said, spreading his hands. "Go on." I sat across from him. My hands rested on the folder. "Marcus," I began, "do you remember what you said yesterday?" He rolled his eyes. "I don't remember everything I say." "You laughed," I said. "You said I was always in pain. You said I would be fine." He shrugged. I was trying to lighten the mood. "No," I said gently. "You were mocking me." His face tightened. "That's not fair." "I almost died," I said quietly. Silence fell between us. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I opened the folder. Slowly. I slid the first page across the table toward him. "Read," I said. He glanced at it. Didn't touch it. "Mom, I don't need to read." "Read," I repeated. My voice did not shake. Something about that made him hesitate. He picked up the paper. His eyes scanned the page quickly. Then more slowly. His forehead creased. "What is this?" he asked. "My diagnosis," I said. He read again. His jaw tightened. "This says," he stopped. "Yes," I said. "It says stroke." He scoffed lightly. "A minor one," he said. I slid another page forward. "And this," I said. He read. Then another. And another. The tapping of his fingers stopped. The room grew quiet. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "This doesn't mean," he started. "It means exactly what it says," I replied. "The doctor explained it to me in detail." He laughed again. But this laugh sounded different. Less confident. "Doctors exaggerate," he said. I reached into the folder and pulled out my phone. I opened the photos. I slid the phone across the table. "These are the notes," I said, "and this is the nurse's report, and this." I paused and looked him in the eyes. "This is the time stamp of when I arrived." He stared at the phone. "Didn't touch it." "You didn't want to take me," I said. If I had listened to you, I wouldn't be sitting here right now." His face flushed. "That's not fair," he said again, louder this time. "Isn't it?" I asked. He stood up suddenly. "You always do this," he shouted. "You make everything my fault." I stayed seated. "Sit down," I said. He froze. "What did you say?" "I said sit down," I repeated. My voice was calm, but it carried weight. Slowly, he sat. "I raised you," I said. "I protected you, I believed you, and when my body cried for help, you laughed." "That's not true," he snapped. "Then why didn't you believe me?" I asked. He opened his mouth. No words came out. "You didn't even ask if I was scared," I said. "You didn't hold my hand. You didn't say sorry." I leaned forward. "You told me I was dramatic." His eyes dropped to the table. For a moment, I thought I saw something change. Then his face hardened. "You're trying to make me the bad guy," he said. I nodded slowly. "No," I said. "You did that on your own." He stood up again. "I don't need this," he said. "You're alive, that's what matters." "That's all that matters to you?" I asked. He turned toward the door. "I've got work," he said. "We'll talk later." "No," I said. He stopped. "There is no later," I continued. "Not like before." He turned back. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said carefully, "things are going to change." He laughed. "Change how?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "I will not let you dismiss my pain again," I said. "I will not lie for your comfort." He shook his head. "You're being dramatic again." I stood up slowly. "This time," I said, "I have proof." He stared at me. "You think some papers make you right?" he asked. "No," I said, "they make me alive." Silence. Then he said something that made my chest tighten. "So what?" he said. "You want me to feel guilty forever?" I took a breath. "I want you to understand," I said. "And if you can't, then I will protect myself." "Protect yourself from what?" he asked sharply. I didn't answer. I gathered the folder and walked toward my room. "Mom," he called after me, "you're overreacting." I stopped at the doorway. I turned back. "You laughed at my pain," I said. "I won't forget that." Then I closed the door. Inside my room, I sat on the bed, my heart racing. I knew this was only the beginning, because my son had seen the proof. But he hadn't accepted it. Not yet. And when people like Marcus feel cornered, they don't always respond with understanding. They respond with anger. As I lay back and closed my eyes, my phone buzzed. A message. From Marcus. "We're not done talking." I stared at the screen. Because something told me. The real storm hadn't started yet. The message stayed on my phone like a weight. "We're not done talking." I did not reply. I lay back on the bed and closed my eyes, trying to slow my breathing. My heart still raced from the argument. My left arm tingled again, a soft warning I had learned not to ignore. I placed my hand over my chest. "Easy," I whispered to myself. "You're safe." But was I? The house felt different now. Quieter, colder. Like it was holding its breath. That night, Marcus did not knock on my door. He did not apologize. He did not check on me. I heard him moving around the house, opening the fridge, slamming a cabinet, turning the TV on too loud. Every sound felt sharp. I stayed in my room, the folder of papers on my nightstand, my phone beside it. Proof on one side. Fear on the other. Sleep came in short pieces. I woke up often, my body stiff, my mind busy. Every time I heard footsteps, my heart jumped. At one point, I heard Marcus stop outside my door. He stood there for a long moment. I held my breath. Then his footsteps moved away. Morning came slowly. I woke up tired, but determined. The doctor had said no stress. But life did not wait for doctor's orders. I sat up and reached for my phone. No new messages. Good. I got dressed carefully. A soft cotton top, loose pants, flat shoes, normal clothes, clothes that felt like me. When I stepped into the kitchen, Marcus was already there. He stood by the counter, scrolling on his phone. He didn't look up. Morning, I said. He grunted. I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the table. The silence stretched. Finally, Marcus spoke. You embarrassed me, he said. I looked up. Embarrassed you, I repeated. At the hospital, he said, making a scene, talking to doctors, acting like I don't care. I stared at him. You laughed at me, I said calmly. That was the scene. He slammed his phone on the counter. You're twisting things again, he snapped. I took a slow sip of tea. I'm telling the truth, I said. That's your version, he said. I placed my cup down gently. No, I replied. That's what happened. He shook his head. You always want to be the victim, he said. The words hit hard. But this time, they didn't break me. I almost died, I said. That's not a story, that's a fact. He laughed again. Short, bitter. You're still here, he said, so let's move on. Move on. Like nothing happened. Like my pain was a bad joke. That was the moment I understood something painful. Marcus was not ready to see me as a person. He still saw me as a problem. And problems, to him, were meant to be ignored. I stood up slowly. I'm going to rest, I said. He didn't respond. I walked back to my room. And I locked the door. Later that day, I received a call from the clinic. A follow-up appointment. More tests. More instructions. Please make sure you have support at home, the nurse said. I hesitated. Yes, I said, I will. When I hung up, I stared at the wall. Support. That word echoed in my mind. Was I supported here? Or was I surviving? In the afternoon, Marcus knocked on my door. Hard. Mom, he said, open up. I did not move. We need to talk, he added. I opened the door slowly. He stood there, arms crossed, jaw tight. What now? I asked. You showed me those papers, he said. So what? What do you want from me? I looked at him. I want respect, I said. I want you to believe me. He scoffed. You want me to feel bad? No, I said. I want you to stop laughing at my pain. He stepped closer. You're being dramatic again, he said. This whole thing. Stop, I said. My voice was firm. He blinked. I'm serious, I continued. If you speak to me like that again, I will leave. He laughed loudly. Leave where? He asked. You need me. I felt my stomach tighten. No, I said, I don't. He leaned in closer. You can't even drive right now, he said. You can't work, you can't. I can think, I said, and I can decide. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. You've changed, he said. Yes, I replied. I had to. That evening, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My niece, Danielle. She answered on the second ring. Aunt Clarice, she said, surprised, is everything okay? I hesitated. Then I told her the truth. Not all of it. Just enough. She listened quietly. Then she said something that made my eyes fill with tears. You can come stay with me, she said, as long as you need. I closed my eyes. Thank you, I whispered. That night, I packed a small bag. Just clothes. My medicine. The folder. My phone. I did not take everything. Just what mattered. When I stepped into the hallway, Marcus was sitting on the couch. Where are you going? He asked. To stay with Danielle, I said. He laughed. You're overreacting, he said. Again. I walked past him. Mom, he called. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. I stopped at the door. I turned around. You made it big when you laughed, I said. Then I opened the door and stepped outside. The air felt different. Cooler. Cleaner. I stood on the porch for a moment, breathing deeply. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. You're being ridiculous. I did not reply. Danielle arrived a few minutes later. She hugged me gently. You okay? She asked. I will be, I said. As we drove away, I looked back at the house. The place where I raised my son. The place where my pain was mocked. The place where I almost died. I felt sadness, but I also felt relief. Danielle's home was warm. Quiet. Safe. She made me soup and helped me settle into the guest room. That night, I slept deeper than I had in days. But peace did not last long. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. This time, the message was different. Short. Cold. If you tell people lies about me, I won't forgive you. My heart dropped. I stared at the screen. Because now, I understood something clearly. Marcus wasn't just in denial. He was angry. And anger, mixed with pride, can turn dangerous. I locked my phone and sat back on the bed. Because I knew one thing for sure. My son was not done. And what he would do next would force me to make a choice I never thought I'd have to make. I read Marcus's message again. If you tell people lies about me, I won't forgive you. My hands trembled, not from fear alone, but from something sharper. Anger. Not loud anger. Not screaming anger. The kind that settles deep and steady, like a decision being made. I locked my phone and placed it face down on the bed. Clarice, I whispered to myself, this is where you stop shrinking. Danielle noticed something was wrong right away. She knocked gently on the guest room door and peeked in. You okay, Auntie? She asked. I nodded, but my face betrayed me. She came in and sat beside me on the bed. What happened? She asked softly. I hesitated. For years I had protected Marcus by staying quiet. I hid his words, his coldness, his laughter. But the doctor's voice echoed in my head. Don't suffer in silence. So I told her. Not everything, but enough. I showed her the message. I showed her the folder. I showed her the truth. Danielle's face changed as she read. Slowly, carefully, her mouth fell open. Auntie, she said, her voice shaking, you had a stroke. Yes, I said, and he laughed. She looked at me like she couldn't believe it. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Then her expression hardened. That's not okay, she said. That's not normal, and it's not something you should carry alone. I felt tears rise again. I don't want to destroy him, I said. He's still my son. Danielle took my hand. You're not destroying him, she said. You're telling the truth. Later that day, Danielle made a call. I didn't hear the whole conversation, but I heard my name. I heard the word hospital. I heard the word stroke. When she hung up, she came back into the room. I called Aunt Renee, she said, and Cousin Mark. My stomach tightened. Why? I asked. Because you need support, she replied, and because this isn't just between you and Marcus anymore. I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to run. The other part was tired of hiding. The phone started ringing that evening. First, Aunt Renee. Clarice, she said, her voice full of concern. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to worry anyone, I said. She sighed. You've been worrying everyone by staying quiet, she said gently. Then Cousin Mark called. Then another cousin. Then a church friend. Word was spreading. Not as gossip. As concern. And for the first time in my life, people were asking me questions and actually listening to the answers. Marcus noticed. I knew he did, because the messages started coming. One after another. Why is Aunt Renee calling me? What did you tell people? You're making me look bad. I did not reply. Not once. Danielle took my phone gently and said, You don't need to answer him right now. I nodded, because my body was telling me something important. Stress hurt. Truth healed. The next morning, my sister Renee came by. She hugged me tight, careful of my arm. You scared me, she said. I scared myself, I replied. She sat across from me at the table and looked me in the eyes. Clarice, she said, why didn't you tell me he treated you like this? I took a deep breath. Because I didn't want to believe it, I said, and because I thought protecting him was my job. Renee shook her head slowly. No, she said, protecting yourself is your job too. Her words landed heavy. That afternoon, Danielle helped me schedule my follow-up appointments. She wrote everything down. She made sure I rested. For the first time, I wasn't doing everything alone. And my body felt the difference. But Marcus was not quiet. By evening, he showed up. Unannounced. Danielle opened the door before I could stop her. Marcus stood there, eyes hard, jaw tight. What is this? He demanded. Why is everyone acting like I did something wrong? Danielle crossed her arms. You did, she said calmly. He stepped forward. This is between me and my mother, he snapped. I stood up slowly and walked into the room. No, I said, it isn't anymore. He stared at me. You told people, he accused. I told the truth, I replied. His face flushed. You're turning everyone against me. I shook my head. No, I said, your words did that. He laughed bitterly. You're exaggerating, he said. You always do. Danielle stepped in front of me. Don't talk to her like that, she said. Marcus looked at her with surprise. This doesn't concern you. It does now, she replied. He turned back to me. You had a little scare, he said. That's it, you didn't need to make a big deal. I felt something rise in me. Not fear. Not sadness. Strength. It was a stroke, I said clearly, and you laughed. The room went quiet. Marcus opened his mouth. Closed it. Then he scoffed. You're just trying to control the story, he said. I nodded slowly. Yes, I said, my story. He stepped back. This is crazy, he muttered. I don't even recognize you. I looked at him sadly. I recognize myself, I said. That stopped him. For a moment, his eyes flickered. Then his face hardened again. You'll regret this, he said. And he walked out. That night, I sat quietly in the guest room. My heart hurt. Because no matter what he had done, he was still my son. But love does not mean silence. And motherhood does not mean self-destruction. I whispered into the quiet. I choose life. The next day, something unexpected happened. A social worker from the hospital called. She had been notified of my situation. She asked questions. Careful ones. About support. About home. About safety. I answered honestly. When I hung up, my hands shook. Because once systems start listening, truth gains weight. By the end of the week, Marcus stopped calling. Stopped texting. The silence was loud. Painful. But also peaceful. I focused on healing. On walking slowly. On breathing. On remembering that my pain was real. One afternoon, Danielle sat beside me on the porch. You know, she said, this isn't over. I know, I replied. She looked at me. You're going to have to make a hard choice. I nodded. I already felt it coming. Because truth has a way of demanding action. And soon, I would have to decide whether protecting my son was worth losing myself. Again. The quiet that followed Marcus's silence felt strange. Too calm. Too empty. At first, I thought I would feel relief. No messages, no accusations, no sharp words cutting into my chest. But what I felt instead was grief. Not for the man my son had become, but for the boy he used to be. I sat on Danielle's porch one morning, wrapped in a light shawl, watching birds hop along the fence. My body felt a little stronger each day. My steps were steadier, my head clearer. My heart, though, was heavy, because healing the body is easier than healing love. Danielle brought me a cup of warm tea and sat beside me. "You're quiet today," she said. "I'm thinking," I replied. "About Marcus." I nodded. She sighed softly. "I know you love him," she said. "That won't just disappear." "I don't want it to," I said, "but love shouldn't hurt like this." She looked at me carefully. "Then something has to change," she said. I knew she was right. But change scared me, because it meant choosing myself over my child. And for a mother, that feels wrong even when it is. Later that day, my phone rang. Unknown number. My chest tightened. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello." There was a pause. Then Marcus's voice. "Mom." Just one word. It hit me harder than his shouting ever had. "Yes," I said quietly. "I need to talk to you," he said. I closed my eyes. "I'm listening," I replied. There was another pause. Longer this time. "They're asking questions at work," he said. "People are acting weird." I didn't respond. "You didn't have to tell everyone," he continued. "You could have talked to me first." I felt something twist inside me. "I tried," I said. "You laughed." He exhaled sharply. "I didn't mean it like that," he said. "But you did it," I replied. Silence. Then he said, "Can I come see you?" My heart jumped. Part of me wanted to say yes right away. The other part remembered the threat. The laughter. The way my pain became a joke. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Mom," he said, frustration creeping into his voice. "I'm your son." "Yes," I said, "and I'm your mother, that's why this hurts." He sighed. "I'm not apologizing for something I didn't do," he said. There it was. The wall. "I need time," I said. He scoffed. "Time for what?" "To decide what's best for me," I replied. His tone changed. Cold. "So you're choosing them over me now?" "No," I said. "I'm choosing myself." The line went quiet. Then he hung up. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear. My hands shook. Danielle came outside and saw my face. "What happened?" she asked. "He called," I said. She nodded. And he still doesn't understand," I replied. She sat beside me. "Clarice," she said gently, "understanding might never come." Her words hurt, because deep down, I knew she might be right. That evening, I had my follow-up appointment. Danielle drove me. The doctor smiled when she saw me. "You're improving," she said, "but stress will slow your recovery." I laughed softly. "That's the hard part," I said. She nodded knowingly. "Tell me about home," she said. I told her the truth. About Marcus. About the laughter. About the proof. She listened carefully. Then she said something that stayed with me. "Love without respect becomes dangerous," she said, "especially when health is involved." Dangerous. That word echoed in my mind all the way home. The next few days passed quietly. I focused on walking, on breathing, on eating right. Danielle helped me apply for a short rehabilitation program, physical therapy, support groups. I met other women there. Women who had survived strokes, heart attacks, years of being ignored. One woman said something that hit me hard. "My son said I was being dramatic too," she whispered. I reached for her hand. You weren't, I said. Neither was I. One afternoon, as I rested in the guest room, Danielle knocked. There's something you need to know, she said. My stomach tightened. What is it? Marcus has been telling people you're confused, she said carefully, that the stroke affected your memory. I sat up straight. What? I asked. He's trying to control the story, she said, to protect himself. My chest burned. Not with pain. With betrayal. So now, I said slowly, he's turning my illness into a weapon. Danielle nodded. I didn't want to upset you, she said, but you deserve to know. I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment I had been avoiding. The choice. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening to my heart beat. I thought about Marcus as a baby. About his laugh. About the nights I stayed up with him when he was sick. About the woman at rehab holding my hand. About the doctor's warning. About my body almost giving up. And I realized something painful but true. If I went back to protecting him, I might not survive it. The next morning, I made a decision. I called the hospital's social worker back. I need help setting boundaries, I said. She listened. Then she said, we can help you put a safety plan in place. A safety plan. For my own son. The words made me feel sick, but also steady. Later that day, Marcus showed up again. This time, Danielle didn't open the door right away. He knocked harder. Mom, he called. I stood slowly and walked to the door. Danielle stayed beside me. I opened it just enough to see him. He looked tired. Angry. Defensive. What now? He asked. I took a breath. I know what you've been saying, I said. He frowned. What are you talking about? You told people I'm confused, I said, that my memory is bad. He shrugged. I was explaining things. No, I said, you were lying. His face flushed. You're blowing this out of proportion. I shook my head. No, I said, you are crossing a line. He stepped forward. You don't get to do this to me, he snapped. I held up my hand. Stop, I said. My voice was calm. Firm. Clear. I will not be spoken to like that again, I continued, and I will not be silenced. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. You're choosing strangers over your own son, he said bitterly. I swallowed. I'm choosing life, I said. Silence fell between us. Then he laughed. That same laugh. The one that started everything. And in that moment, I knew. I could not save him, but I could save myself. I closed the door gently. Not out of anger. Out of resolve. Danielle locked it. My heart pounded, but my body felt lighter. That night I cried. Not because I felt weak, but because I finally let go of the lie that love means sacrifice without limits. The next morning, I received an email from the rehabilitation center. They had space for me to stay longer. A place to heal. A place to rest. A place where my pain would never be laughed at. I read it twice. Then I smiled. Because the choice I had been avoiding had finally been made. And I knew one thing for sure. Marcus would not like it. And what he would do next would test everything I had learned about strength, truth, and letting go. The rehabilitation center smelled like clean sheets and quiet hope. That was the first thing I noticed when Danielle helped me inside. No shouting. No slamming doors. No laughter that cut like a knife. Just calm voices and slow footsteps. For the first time in weeks, my shoulders relaxed without me forcing them to. This is temporary, Danielle said softly, squeezing my hand. Just until you're stronger. I nodded. But deep inside, I knew something. Temporary had saved my life. The first few days were slow. physical therapy in the morning, gentle stretches, careful steps, learning how to trust my body again. In the afternoons, we sat in a circle, women and men who had all survived something. Strokes, heart attacks, falls, silence. We talked. We listened. And every story sounded different, yet the same. One woman said, "My daughter told me I was exaggerating." Another whispered, "My husband said I was a burden." When it was my turn, I spoke quietly. My son laughed when I said I was in pain. The room went still. No one laughed. No one doubted. They nodded. That was when I realized something important. Belief is medicine. On the fourth day, my phone buzzed during lunch. A message from Marcus. "So this is how you do me." My hands tightened around the phone. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another message. "You ran away instead of fixing things." I closed my eyes. Ran away. That word stung. But then I remembered the doctor's voice. Stress will slow your recovery. I placed the phone face down and finished my meal. For once, I chose my body over his feelings. That evening, a nurse named Sharon came to check my blood pressure. "You seem calmer today," she said. "I am," I replied. She smiled. "Peace helps healing more than pills sometimes." I believed her. The next morning, Danielle called. "Marcus came by the house," she said carefully. My chest tightened. "What did he want?" I asked. "He was angry," she said. "He said you were making him look like a bad son." I sighed. "He did that himself." Danielle hesitated. "There's more," she said. I waited. "He told a neighbor you're not thinking clearly," she continued. "That the stroke changed you." My heart sank. So he was still trying to rewrite the story. "Thank you for telling me," I said quietly. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I will be," I said, "but I need to handle this." That afternoon, I asked the social worker to help me write something. Not a message to Marcus. A statement. Something simple, honest, clear. Not angry. Not dramatic. Just truth. It took time. We chose every word carefully. When it was done, I read it slowly. Then I nodded. That evening, I sent it. Not just to Marcus. To the family group chat. To the people who mattered. It said, "I had a stroke. My symptoms were serious. I am recovering with medical care. I am safe. I ask for respect and space while I heal. No blame. No accusations. Just facts." The phone stayed quiet for a while. Then messages started coming in. "I'm glad you're okay. Take your time. We're here for you." Support. Real support. Marcus did not reply. 2 days later, he showed up at the rehabilitation center. Unannounced. I was in the therapy room when Sharon came in, her face careful. "Mrs. Holloway," she said, "your son is here." My stomach dropped. "I didn't invite him," I said. "I know," she replied. "Do you want to see him?" I hesitated. Every part of me wanted to run. Another part whispered, "This ends today." "Yes," I said finally, "but not alone." Sharon nodded. "I'll stay nearby," she said. Marcus stood in the hallway, arms crossed, jaw tight. He looked smaller here. Less powerful. Less certain. When he saw me, his eyes narrowed. "So this is where you're hiding," he said. "I'm healing," I replied. He scoffed. "You didn't have to make it public." "I didn't," I said. "You did." He laughed sharply. "You're enjoying this," he said, "playing the victim." I felt my heart race. But I stood my ground. "I almost died," I said. "That's not a role." He shook his head. "You've changed," he said again. "Yes," I replied, "because I had to." He stepped closer. "You're ruining our family," he said. I took a deep breath. "No," I said. "I'm saving myself." His face hardened. "You always choose everyone else over me," he snapped. The words cut deep. But I didn't flinch. "I chose you for decades," I said softly, "at the cost of myself." Silence filled the hallway. For a moment, I thought I saw doubt in his eyes. Then pride took over. "So what?" he said. "You want me to beg?" I shook my head. "I want you to stop mocking my pain," I said, "and to stop lying about my health." He laughed again. That same laugh. The one that told me everything. "You're still being dramatic," he said. That was it. The line. The final one. I straightened my shoulders. "Marcus," I said calmly, "this conversation is over." He blinked. "What?" "I will not explain my pain anymore," I continued. "I will not defend my illness, and I will not accept disrespect." He stepped back. "You can't just cut me off," he said. "I can," I replied, "and I am." Sharon stepped closer. "Sir," she said firmly, "you need to leave." Marcus stared at me. "You'll regret this," he said. I looked him in the eyes. "No," I said. "I already regret staying silent for so long." He turned and walked away. This time, I didn't chase him. That night, I cried quietly in my room. Not because I felt weak, but because letting go hurts, even when it's right. The nurse checked on me. "You did well," she said. I nodded. "It still hurts," I admitted. She smiled gently. Healing often does. The next morning, my therapist asked me a question. "What does peace look like to you now?" I thought for a long moment. Then I said, "Not being laughed at when I'm hurting." She nodded. "That's a good place to start." Days passed. My body grew stronger. My heart steadier. Marcus did not return, but his shadow still lingered. Until one afternoon, when I received a letter. Not a text. Not a call. A letter. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were only a few words. "I don't agree with you, but I can't stop you." I stared at the page. No apology. No understanding. But something else was there. Acceptance. Of limits. I folded the letter and placed it in my bag. Because this chapter of my life was no longer about convincing him. It was about protecting me. And as I walked back into the therapy room, I felt it. The end was coming. Not with a fight, but with a choice that could never be undone. And what would happen next would change the shape of my family forever. The days after Marcus's letter felt different. Not quiet like before. Not tense either. Just still. The kind of stillness that comes after a storm, when everything broken is finally on the ground where you can see it. I folded Marcus's letter again that morning and placed it inside my bag. Not to keep it close to my heart, but to remind myself of something important. He had chosen his pride, and I had chosen my life. Rehabilitation became routine. Morning exercises, slow walks down the hallway, learning how to trust my balance again, learning how to listen to my body without shame. The therapists were patient. They spoke to me like I mattered. That alone felt like healing. One afternoon, my therapist, Mrs. Cole, asked me to sit down with her. "You've made good progress," she said, smiling, "physically and emotionally." I nodded. "I had to," I replied. "I almost didn't make it." She looked at me carefully. "What do you think changed the most?" she asked. I thought for a moment. "Me," I said. "I stopped asking for permission to hurt." She smiled gently. "That's a powerful realization," she said. Later that day, Danielle visited. She brought fruit and fresh clothes and news from home. "The neighbors keep asking about you," she said. "They send their love." I smiled faintly. "That's kind of them." She hesitated. And Marcus, she added. My chest tightened. What about him? I asked. She chose her words carefully. He's been quiet, she said. Very quiet. I nodded slowly. Quiet could mean many things. Growth. Anger. Planning. With Marcus, silence was never simple. That evening, I joined a group session. We sat in a circle again, sharing stories. A man spoke about his heart attack and how his daughter refused to visit him. A woman spoke about losing friends after getting sick. When it was my turn, I spoke honestly. My son laughed when I said I was in pain, I said. And when I showed proof, he tried to make me look confused. The room went still. Then one woman said softly, my daughter did the same. Another nodded. Another whispered, they don't like losing control. That sentence stayed with me. They don't like losing control. Marcus didn't laugh because he thought I was fine. He laughed because believing me would have changed his power. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A notification. Not from Marcus. From my bank. I frowned and opened it. Unusual activity detected. My heart skipped. I called immediately. The woman on the line spoke carefully. Mrs. Holloway, she said, we noticed an attempt to access your account. My stomach dropped. Was it successful? I asked. No, she replied, but we wanted to confirm if it was you. I closed my eyes. No, I said, it wasn't me. She paused. Do you know who might have tried? She asked. I hesitated. Then I answered truthfully. My son, I said. She took a breath. Would you like us to place additional security? She asked. Yes, I said, immediately. When the call ended, my hands were shaking. Marcus had crossed another line. I told Danielle everything when she arrived later. Her face hardened. That's not okay, she said. That's serious. I know, I replied quietly. Clarice, she said firmly, you need to protect yourself fully now. I nodded. I'm ready. The social worker helped me update my documents. Passwords. Emergency contacts. Medical decisions. I removed Marcus's name. Each change felt heavy, but necessary. This isn't punishment, the social worker said gently. It's protection. I believed her. 2 days later, Marcus finally called. I stared at the screen. My heart raced. But I answered. Yes, I said. Why did you lock me out of your account? He demanded. I stayed calm. Because you tried to access it without my permission, I replied. That's my money too, he shouted. No, I said, it's mine. He scoffed. You're letting them turn you against me. No, I replied, you did that yourself. Silence. Then he said something that chilled me. You wouldn't survive without me. I closed my eyes. I already did, I said. He laughed bitterly. We'll see, he muttered. The line went dead. That night, fear tried to creep back in. But something stopped it. I remembered the ambulance lights. The hospital bed. The doctor's words. You came just in time. I sat up and whispered. I'm not afraid anymore. And for the first time, it was true. The next week, I was cleared to leave rehabilitation. Danielle came to help me pack. You sure you're ready? She asked. I am, I said. But I won't be going back, I added. She smiled. I figured. I had already made arrangements. A small apartment near the clinic. Close to support. Far from mockery. On moving day, something unexpected happened. Marcus showed up. Unannounced. Again. He stood in the parking lot as Danielle loaded my bags. You're really doing this? He asked. Yes, I said. You're choosing strangers over me, he said bitterly. I shook my head. I'm choosing safety, I replied. He laughed again, but it sounded tired now. You think this makes you strong? He asked. I looked at him. No, I said. Surviving made me strong. This just proves it. He stared at me for a long moment. Then his shoulders dropped slightly. Mom, he said. Just that. For a second, hope flickered. Then he said, You're still overreacting. The flicker died. I wish you well, I said. And I turned away. That night, in my new apartment, I sat alone. The space was small. Quiet. Mine. I placed the folder of medical proof in a drawer. I placed Marcus's letter in another. Not forgotten, but no longer guiding me. I lay down and closed my eyes. My body was tired, but my spirit felt steady. As I drifted toward sleep, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. You think this is over? My heart beat faster. Because I knew. This story was not finished yet. And whatever Marcus planned next would force the truth into the open in a way none of us expected. The message stayed on my phone all night. You think this is over? I did not reply. I did not delete it either. I placed the phone face down on the small table beside my bed and lay still, listening to my own breathing. The new apartment was quiet, too quiet, no footsteps, no TV noise. No heavy sighs from another room. Just me. And the truth. I slept lightly, waking often, but when morning came, I was still there. Alive, steady. That alone felt like victory. The next few days passed without another word from Marcus. No calls. No messages. No surprise visits. But something felt wrong. Not peaceful wrong. Waiting wrong. Like the air before a storm. Danielle noticed it too. You're tense, she said when she came by with groceries. I feel watched, I replied. She frowned. Has he contacted you again? I shook my head. That's what worries me. On the fourth day, the storm arrived. It came quietly. Through a phone call. I was making tea when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. I answered carefully. Hello? Mrs. Holloway, a man asked. Yes. My name is Mr. Keller, he said. I'm calling from adult services. My heart skipped. Yes, I repeated. We received a report concerning your well-being, he said calmly, specifically regarding your mental clarity after your recent medical event. The room tilted. A report, I asked. Yes, he said. It claims you may be confused and unable to manage your affairs. I closed my eyes. Marcus. I'm fine, I said. Who made this report? I can't disclose that, he replied, but we're required to follow up. My hands trembled. When? I asked. Today, he said, if possible. After I hung up, I sat down slowly. So this was his move. If he couldn't silence me, he would discredit me, turn my pain into a story about confusion, turn proof into doubt. My chest tightened, not from fear but from anger. This time, he had gone too far. Danielle arrived within minutes after I called her. He reported you, she asked, shocked. Yes, I said, but this time I'm ready. I opened the drawer and pulled out the folder. Medical records. Doctor's notes. Rehab reports. Clear dates. Clear facts. I've been collecting proof my whole life, I said quietly. I just didn't know it. Mr. Keller arrived that afternoon. A calm man with a notebook and kind eyes. He sat across from me at the small table. Mrs. Holloway, he said, I want you to know this is routine. I nodded. I understand, I replied. He asked questions. Simple ones. What day is it? Where are we? Can you explain your medical condition in your own words? I answered calmly. clearly, confidently. Then I slid the folder across the table. "This is my proof," I said. He opened it. "Read." Paused. "Read again." His expression changed. "These are very thorough," he said. "I had to be," I replied. He looked up. "Do you feel unsafe?" he asked gently. I thought about Marcus's laughter, his threats, the bank attempt, the report. "Yes," I said, "emotionally and financially." He nodded slowly. "Thank you for your honesty." After he left, Danielle hugged me tightly. "You handled that beautifully," she said. "I'm tired of being quiet," I replied. But inside, I knew something. Marcus would not stop. Not now. Not when his control was slipping. That evening, my phone rang again. This time, I knew the number. "Marcus." I answered. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I told the truth," I replied. "You embarrassed me," he snapped. "You reported me," I said calmly. He laughed. "You forced my hand." "No," I replied. "You crossed a line." "You think you're smart now," he said bitterly, "showing papers like they mean something." "They saved my life," I said. Silence. Then his voice dropped. "You're going to regret this," he said. I felt a chill, but I did not flinch. "I already regret believing you," I said. And I hung up. That night, something unexpected happened. A message appeared in the family group chat. From Marcus. He wrote, "Mom isn't well. The stroke changed her. She's being influenced by others." My hands shook. But this time, I did not panic. I replied. For the first time, I had a stroke. I sought medical care. Doctors confirmed my condition. Laughing at my pain did not make it disappear. Then I attached the proof. Photos. Documents. Dates. Silence followed. Long silence. Then messages came in. "Oh my God. Clarice, I'm so sorry. Marcus, why would you say that?" The truth was no longer private. It was visible. And once truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. Marcus left the group. Blocked me. Blocked others. Ran. But the story stayed. And for the first time, I wasn't alone in it. 2 days later, I received a call from Aunt Renee. "I spoke to Marcus," she said carefully. "And?" I asked. "He's angry," she said, "but he's also scared." I nodded. "Control looks like confidence until it's challenged," I replied. Renee sighed. "I'm proud of you," she said, "even if this hurts." "It does," I admitted, "but it's clean pain, not poison." That afternoon, I walked outside alone. The sun was warm. My steps were slow but steady. I felt older, but stronger. As I sat on a bench, my phone buzzed. One last message from Marcus. No threats this time. Just words. "I never meant to hurt you." I stared at the screen. For a long time. Then I whispered aloud. "But you did." I did not reply. Some truths do not need answers. That night, I slept deeply. No dreams. No shadows. Just rest. But as dawn approached, I felt it. The end was near. Not with peace, but with clarity. Because tomorrow, a final decision would be made. Not by Marcus. By me. And what I chose next would define the rest of my life. The morning felt quiet in a new way. Not empty. Not heavy. Clear. Sunlight slipped through the thin curtains of my apartment and rested gently on the wall. I lay in bed for a moment, listening to my own breathing, slow and steady. For the first time since my stroke. For the first time since my son laughed at my pain. I felt fully awake. Today, I would make the final choice. I got out of bed slowly and stood by the window. Outside, the world moved on like it always did. Cars passed. A woman walked her dog. Someone laughed down the street. Life did not stop for my pain. And I realized something important. It didn't have to. I made myself breakfast. Simple, toast and tea. I sat at the small table and ate slowly, listening to the quiet. No mocking voice. No tension in the air. No fear of saying how I felt. Just me. My phone buzzed once. A message from Danielle. "You okay this morning?" I smiled and typed back. "I am." And I meant it. Later that morning, I dressed carefully. A soft navy blue blouse, comfortable pants, flat shoes, normal clothes. Clothes that made me feel like myself, not someone hiding. I picked up my bag. Inside it were only 3 things. My phone. My keys. And the folder. The proof. Not because I still needed to show it, but because it reminded me of something powerful. My pain was real. And so was my strength. I walked to the clinic nearby, slowly, carefully. Each step felt like a promise I was keeping to myself. At the front desk, the receptionist smiled. "Good morning, Mrs. Holloway." "Good morning," I replied. She handed me a clipboard. "Before you go," she said, "we just need one decision confirmed." I knew what it was. Emergency contact. Medical decisions. I took the pen. And for the first time, I did not hesitate. I wrote Danielle's name. Not Marcus's. When I handed it back, my hand felt lighter. On my way home, my phone rang. Marcus. I stopped walking. Stared at the screen. My heart beat faster. Not from fear. From knowing this would be the last time. I answered. "Yes," I said. He didn't shout. He didn't laugh. His voice sounded tired. "Mom," he said, "we need to talk." I closed my eyes. "I know," I replied. There was a pause. "I didn't think it would go this far," he said. "Everyone's looking at me like I'm some kind of monster." I leaned against a fence and took a breath. "You laughed at my pain," I said calmly. "You told people I was confused. You tried to control my money. This went far because you pushed it there." Silence. "I was scared," he said quietly. "I didn't want things to change." I nodded slowly. "I was scared too," I said. "But fear doesn't give us the right to hurt someone." Another pause. Then he asked the question I knew was coming. "So what now?" he said. "Are you cutting me off?" I looked down at my shoes. At the ground beneath them. At how steady I felt standing there. "No," I said honestly. "I'm setting boundaries." He scoffed softly. "That sounds like the same thing." "No," I replied. "Cutting you off would be about punishment. This is about protection." "For who?" he asked. "For me," I said. He exhaled slowly. "You really changed," he said. "Yes," I replied. "Pain will do that when it's ignored." There was a long silence. Then he said something that surprised me. I didn't know it was that serious. I swallowed. "I tried to tell you," I said. "You laughed." Silence again. He did not apologize. But his voice softened. "I need time," he said. "So do I," I replied. He waited. "For what?" he asked. "For you to decide whether you can respect me," I said, "and for me to keep healing." Another pause. Then he said, "Okay." Just one word. Not perfect. Not enough. But real. When the call ended, I felt tears rise. Not because I was weak, but because I had finally said what needed to be said. And I had not begged. That afternoon, I sat at my table and opened the folder one last time. I looked at the papers, the diagnosis, the notes, the proof. Then I closed it. I didn't need it anymore. I placed the folder in a drawer and shut it. Gently. That chapter was done. Days passed. Then weeks. My body grew stronger. My steps steadier. My heart calmer. Marcus sent one short message. "I'm trying." I replied. That's all I ever wanted. No explanations. No arguments. Just truth. One evening, as the sun set, I sat by the window and thought about that day in the living room. The couch. The pain. The laughter. How small I felt. How invisible. And how close I came to not surviving it. I whispered softly. "You almost believed them." Then I shook my head. "No," I corrected myself. "You believed yourself." Before I end this story, let me speak directly to you listening. If someone laughs at your pain, if they tell you you're exaggerating, if they turn your suffering into a joke, please hear this. Pain does not need permission to be real. Proof does not need laughter to disappear. And love does not mean silence. I am a grandmother. I am a mother. And I am still here. Because the evening my son mocked my pain, I turned my pain into proof. And that proof saved my life. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful emotional stories like this. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? You are not alone.